Good morning. Good morning. I'm back. I was thinking about you yesterday. Yesterday, I was tending to my own health. It's been a really interesting couple of weeks. I've gone through these phases throughout, I would say, the last, I think it's been 5 or 6 years where I've been working with some memories coming up. From my childhood and really having to support my nervous system as I've been processing memories of trauma. And what that looks like for me has evolved over the years. But if you're someone who has had traumatic experiences throughout your life and having to process stress and trauma, you know that it is challenging and it's very disruptive and dysregulating for the nervous system. And so I've had the pleasure of having to process some new memories over the last week or two. And usually how that presents for me is night terrors and nightmares and just like really dysregulated sleep patterns for, it could be anywhere from a couple of weeks to a couple of months leading up to sort of these memories surfacing. And so I've really taken a step back over the last couple of weeks to just really tend to my soul and my body. And why, this is really important is because it has a lot to do with what I want to talk to you about today. And how this all came up for me is yesterday in tending to myself and my health and my nervous system, I realized I needed to just get out into the forest. And I had an intention to just go for a light, walk, take my time. And I ended up walking for 2 hours, and I just kept walking and walking and walking, which is a big way that I like to process, particularly in nature. And while I was walking, I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about this very concept around the truth of what it really means and what it really looks like after you have healed your gut, and what that looks like. Although it varies from person to person, there's one, core thing that stands true for all people that I don't hear a lot of people talking about, that I wanted to talk to you about today. And I think the best way that we can kind of wrap it all up together and kind of discuss this is this idea that health is a destination. And if you are trying to fix your gut, you need to destroy and kill the idea that health and fixing your gut is going to be a destination for you. And how do you know that your brain may be thinking in these terms is if you are thinking, I'll be happy when, right? I'll be happy when my constipation goes away. I'll be happy when I am not bloated and I don't look 9 months pregnant and I don't have abdominal pain, right? I'll be happy when I can go to a restaurant and eat what everyone else is eating and have no consequence, right? I'll be happy when fill in the blank, right? We've all had these moments where we have been under the impression that our happiness and our ability to thrive is dependent on the removal of that which is difficult, right? And that is kind of the myth around healing, is that we're working towards this absence of discomfort, the absence of hard feelings, the absence of stressful times or lifing. And the reality is that life continues to life, right? It continues to dish, I assure you. That has been my experience, right? And here's the other really fascinating part is even after you have fixed your gut, that does not mean you're exempt from it going backwards and you having to fix it again, because life continues to life. And there are so many experiences that we can go through that can, re-trigger and re-traumatize the body. And I am living proof of that. And that is something that, I'll share a tidbit about this, 10 years ago, when I first started this journey, what really catapulted me into working to fix my gut and transform my health was my sister. Watching my sister being diagnosed with colitis, in and out of the hospital, oh my God, misdiagnosis, bloody stool, thin as a rail, pale as a ghost. She just would spend weeks in there. And I remember getting the call at work, and I flew down to the hospital and I climbed in the hospital bed with her. And I just remember staring at those sterile white ceilings and saying to her, it's going to be okay. And I had no clue how, but I went home, and long story short, I started, Googling, and I kept coming across nutrition, and then it was possible to heal. But I realized through that time that, my gut was no better. I just thought what I was experiencing, the fluctuating diarrhea and constipation, the bloating, I thought I was just fat. I thought I had no control around food. I thought that the poops were just normal, right? Because I wasn't in the hospital. I wasn't bleeding. I wasn't having her experience. And so I had a very rude wake-up call, realizing, holy fuck, if I don't get my shit together, literally, then I am going to be on a slippery slope into a Crohn's or colitis diagnosis, which does run rampant in my family. And so I started to change my health. And through that experience is when I went back to school, became a registered holistic nutritionist and really fixed my gut. But life lifed, right? I became a registered holistic nutritionist. I built a virtual practice. We work with clients worldwide, helping them fix their guts. And then throughout that time, it turned out that my husband and I had been living in mold. And I really started to see my health start to decline. And it'll be 3 years ago, my husband and on the day of our wedding, our apartment flooded and we never went home. We went from our wedding to a hotel room for 6 weeks. And through that, we uncovered that there had been mold growing in our apartment all along in the walls. And the flood was really quite a blessing, but we lost everything. And by that point, I started to put 2 and 2 together and realized that, wow, a lot of the symptoms I was experiencing of the anxiety and the depression and the digestive symptoms starting to come back. I ended up getting shingles. I went from lifting weights to not being able to barely pick up a 5-pound dumbbell. And from there, a whole other healing journey started. And that's when I became a functional diagnostic nutritionist. That's when I really started to get into root cause medicine, functional testing, and totally transformed my practice and how I support our clients, but also how I support myself. And I share this with you because even I am not exempt from having to continue supporting my health, because we're not exempt from going backwards, right? And having life. And so the thing that we have to understand about life after healing seasons is what I really want to call it, is that there is no destination, that it is ever growing and ever evolving. And this is why I say you have to destroy this thought that you're going to just fix your gut, get rid of the constipation, get rid of the bloating, and then you can go back to eating whatever the heck you want and going back to the old version of you, right? Healing requires an identity shift. It requires that we become a totally different person, because who we were before and how we were showing up in our life is part of what got us those results. And so I am not the same person that I was. I still have a lot of fire and passion in me. I'm not as fucking hyper though. And if you go back on my old YouTube videos, you'll see that really, hyperactive. And I've really evolved and shifted and grounded. And, health for me, it's not about moving away from the symptoms any longer. It's really about stepping into a full life of thriving. And so part of what we want to really work on when we're working to fix our gut, so that it becomes sustainable and so that we become resilient to when life lifes and when shit hits the fan, because it will. And there will be stressors on your gut. Part of what is going to make you more resilient when that happens again is a couple of things, right? Destroying the idea of destination, understanding that health is ongoing, but 2, having the clear vision of the direction that you want to go. And I know that this sounds fucking fluffy, but bear with me for a moment. The people that I see who are trying to heal by moving away from their pain, they don't succeed. Here's why. As soon as the pain goes away, as soon as the symptoms go away, there's no more motivator. There's no more motivation. I find a lot of people are comfortable being uncomfortable, and the only thing that really gets them into action, these people into action, is when their symptoms are impacting their day-to-day life and preventing them from showing up in their habits and showing up in their life the way that they want to, right? And so those people then will be like, okay, fine, it's gotten painful enough that I'll do something about it. But they'll get started on a protocol, they might change their diet, and then as soon as they start feeling better, they slip back into old habits. And we've all been in this spot, by the way, right? This is typically, you may have experienced where you fall off track, you have a hard time sticking to a protocol. Or, you always seem to cave into temptations with diets and foods and things like that. This has a lot to do with not having a clear vision of where you want to go, but it's also valuing our health, right? Part of shifting our focus from moving away from discomfort to focusing on how we want to feel and having a life that we want to thrive in has a lot to do with how we feel about ourselves, our self-worth. Do we feel worthy and deserving of being healthy? A lot of the times the answer is no. And if underneath, somewhere below, that you don't feel that you're deserving or it's possible for you, then you will throw yourself off track, right? And so the only thing that really lights the fire under us is when the pain is so great we can't cope anymore. So we get just better enough that the pain is tolerable. But when we get to really valuing our health, when we value our health, and what do I mean by value our health, right? I mean, we're not just showing up in our habits when things are hard, but even on the good days, we're still committed to supporting our health, right? When we value our health, it's a whole other direction. For me, when I was healing, I'm going to give you a prime example I share with our clients. When I was really focused on healing my gut, I also, living in mold, ignited a dormant Lyme infection, which made it impossible for me to not be in pain. I was living in daily chronic pain and for a good chunk of time unable to walk because of that pain. And I so desperately wanted to get out of that pain. And everything about how I was showing up was focusing on removing that pain, right? And I want you to think about this in terms of your individual symptoms. How often are you thinking, if I could just poop, or if I could just get rid of this bloating, and you get into the habit of like, okay, I'm going to figure it out this time. You're used to being the fixer. You're used to being able to correct all the issues in everyone else's life, and everyone comes to you to be the problem solver, but you can't seem to figure this thing out, and it's so frustrating. And you have those moments where you're like, okay, tonight's the night. I'm going to find it on Google this time. And so you start Googling and you're searching, like, trying to figure out how to get rid of your symptoms. The fixation is on the pain. But let me tell you what happened to me, because, the last year especially has been particularly transformative for me. I had a moment August of last year where I was out in BC and in the mountains with a dear friend who is a coach of mine, but she's become a beautiful friend in my life. We were out visiting her, and I climbed this small portion of a mountain and it damn near fucking killed me. I mean, small portion. Like, it was like a small little incline. It damn near killed me, but it lit this fire in me of, I'm going to climb this fucking mountain, the whole mountain next time. I'm meant to be a mountain climber. And I went home from that trip and obsessively started thinking about climbing mountains. And if you guys have been following me on Instagram, you'll see I shared my journey through this past summer. In July, my family, we all went to Newfoundland, Canada, and I hiked my first mountain. It took me 11 hours, but we did it. And so proud. But in that year, what happened for me is, instead of me Googling how to kill Lyme, how to get rid of feet pain, how to stop the blah, blah, blah symptoms, I started Googling best backpacks for hiking, how to go from couch to hiking a mountain, right? What are the water packs I need to carry? What are the clothes I need to carry? I started embodying the identity of a mountain hiker. I started shopping at MEC I don't know if you guys have that outside of Canada. In Canada, it's Mountain Equipment Company or something, I think it's called. Anyways, started shopping at these like outdoor stores and really started embodying the identity, of a thriving mountain climber. And right up until, that trip, I was still experiencing flares, but I had started seeing these improvements over time. I wasn't doing anything much different. I was still on protocol, but the biggest thing that made the difference was me starting to focus on the goal. And it came from a place of me thriving in life instead of me moving away from pain. And so this is so important because now that I am pretty much symptom free, the one thing that I have remaining is I have a little bit of feet pain still occurring in my left foot. And it really only occurs if I am a bit of an asshole to my body and I decide that I'm going to go, walk for hours and hours, or I'm on my feet for, an extended period of time. So if I do a little too much, or if I'm off my feet for too long, those first couple of steps can be really sore on that left foot. But other than that, I'm symptom free. So what is keeping me committed to my daily actions? What keeps me committed to my maintenance protocol? What is keeping me committed to, going to the gym, or deciding that I'm going to start running, and deciding I've got another big goal coming up this next year, right? Which is a whole other story. But what's keeping me committed is the vision that I've built for myself of how I want to feel. And because I destroyed this concept, this idea that health is a destination, and once I get there, I can just fucking coast through the rest of my life, right? Health is a choice, and it comes from valuing it. And when we look at our values, sometimes it's difficult to identify exactly what they are. But the best way that you can identify if you actually value your health is in your actions and in your habits. And so if you are finding that you're still embedded in habits of taking care of everyone else around you and leaving yourself last, saying that you don't have time to feed yourself well or to move your body, if you find that in your day there aren't any actions or habits that are in place that are actually supporting your health, or there aren't enough of them, then you may need to assess and look at whether you are in fact valuing your health. And I had to walk down this path too, right? So this isn't a guilty or shamey thing. It's, we often don't realize that our priorities have gotten mixed up. Because in society, we've been taught that it is this noble act to put everyone else first and to leave ourselves last. And that it is the epitome of selfishness to take care of ourselves, to say no, right? To pursue our dreams, to accept that what is best for you may not be best for others. That is the most rebellious, self-loving thing that you can do, and I'm fucking here for it, right? And that is the thing that we have to get to, is that in our choosing ourselves, in our valuing our health, it may not be what's best for the people around you, but we're going to do it anyways because we value our health. And health is ever evolving and ongoing, and you have this exponential potential when it comes to health. There's no I don't want a destination anymore because I don't want my potential to be capped. Had I been operating out of that old paradigm of there being a destination, I would have gotten just to the point of pain-free and stopped. But because I have looked beyond into a life that's thriving in health, now I'm climbing mountains. Now I'm doing endurance sports. Now I'm lifting. Now there's like this whole other world that has opened up for me that I told myself was never for me. I always told myself I wasn't athletic. I'm not that person. I'm the artsy person. I'm the creative person. But boy, was I limiting myself. And this is why shifting into health being a value, health being a priority, health being a habit is going to be so much more expansive for you than it will be health being a destination. So I hope that wherever you are in your journey, that this is meeting you in a place where there's something that you're finding that you can, chew on or shift to really create this expansive idea of what is possible for you. One of the things that I have noticed, because I ask all of our clients that just get started into our program, I ask them, what is the goal? How do you want to feel? Where are we going? And I still continue asking it, even though no one's ever really able to answer that, because when you are so embedded and stuck in your symptoms, you lose your ability to dream. You forget what's possible for you and you lose yourself. And so this is why your gut issues are the biggest gift that is being presented to you, because it is giving you the opportunity to not just heal your physical body, but for you to truly find yourself and create an even, I don't want to say better version, but I'm going to say a better version, for lack of a better term, an even better version of yourself that you hadn't yet accessed before. That is what sickness does for us, is it gives us the opportunity to heal and go beyond where we had ever imagined before. And so I hope today that this live gives you permission to start thinking bigger, beyond survival mode, beyond just getting past your symptoms, and into the most expansive life of thriving. So let me know in the comments your thoughts, your biggest takeaways, and I can't wait to chat with you there. All right, guys, bye.